All right. Great. So now. All right, welcome everybody on Zoom and in the room. We've got some new technology for this round that is going to allow me not to screw up turning on and off, muting myself for comments and questions. Everyone should be able to hear everyone. Hopefully everything goes smoothly, but I guess we'll learn again as we go in terms of inviting people in from outside the room and having people in. So I think we still want to just do raising the hand both in the room and online, and Z will keep me informed so that we can let people speak, but less things for meeting us up along the way. Yeah, on Zoom.
We have three.
Three additional to several staff members, I think. So, all right, let's get rolling. So here's our agenda for the day. Again, I always start and probably will continue to start with just a reminder of, what we're really trying to do, but eventually be able to stop telling ourselves what this Olmsted Alliance is really all about. But really the focus is keeping the community engaged in the ongoing projects, things happening with the Conservancy, which is why we've invited the development team to make a couple announcements, and then park issues, both previously brought up at previous meetings and sort of how we've been moving along or what we've heard in the last couple months related to those, and then as well the open floor for new things not on the table that have been thought of. Okay, there we go. So again, objectives here are really that people are representing your community in this room, bring the information you hear back to your block clubs, neighborhood groups, neighbors, friends. The idea is that we're sort of working through our master plan for these parks as that evolves, and supporting the implementation of our 5-year plan, which is again a 5-year cycle of heavy community engagement to help us prioritize capital investments so that we can focus our fundraising. Again, continuing to outreach to users and raise awareness, and then enhance stewardship and volunteerism. So again, we're doing this 5 different times across the entire city, across the entire Olmsted Park system. Your role is just to be an ambassador, try and bring more people into the room, and be a steward and get involved in the work of the Conservancy. The key folks: myself, Director of Planning and Advocacy, and here in the room, Zach Garland, our Community Outreach Manager, and Z, our Marketing and Communications Specialist. You will, from time to time, continue to meet our Executive Director at key moments. Our Director of Park Administration, Greg Robinson, is on the Zoom here today. Katie Stevenson, you're going to hear from, and she's be able to share her screen, zooming in from her home in Development Communications, and then Bob Stotz, our Director of Operations on operations issues. Next quarter's meeting, we're going to do a little bit more of a focus on operations, so you might see him in our next round. If you're out in the park, hopefully you're very familiar with these fellows: Humbert Baez, our district supervisor, and our foremans, Devote Pompey and Anthony White, out in the park. And again, the district covers both Riverside and Front, Prospect, as well as a few parkways and circles. So what we're all here to keep up on is the progress related to projects. These are all things that we've been talking about over and over the winter, but now as spring is hitting, some money that has been in the pipeline is ready to get rolling. We've got our paperwork all in place, the approvals for improvements, some improvements. Again, we still need to do more fundraising for baseball in Riverside Park, about $125K going in for replacing bleachers, rebuilding some of the field elements, and as well an enhanced backstop, which is going to be enlarged, some sort of dome design for the backstop. We've got a meeting with the baseball leagues this week, and based on that information, we're going to be finalizing our start schedule with our contractor, who is in place to do the work. So I guess based on the results of that conversation, we'll have a little more clarity on how we want to proceed. Question, Mary Ann?
Yeah, the expand backstop fencing, is it still gonna be see-through, or are you gonna go to a more solid design?
From what I said, it's still going to be chain link in nature. And Greg, feel free to hop in if you want to clarify any further. I think you can just speak.
Yeah, the material itself is going to be chain link fence with the black powder coating on it, so it'll be see through, but it'll be black to help blend in. And it's instead of these more traditional backstops, what a lot of the leagues have been switching to, it's more of sort of a dome fencing arrangement to kind of assist with keeping the foul balls from spraying all over the place. So it'll be more of a dome than what's out there currently with the fencing, and then the net, trying to have the netting across the top of it. So it's going to be black chain link dome over the back stop.
I think Jackie can certainly appreciate living along Crowley. Some of those more aggressive foul balls can get places you don't want to be, get them going. So appreciate that, and that's exciting stuff coming up. But again, just one of the minor projects. Again, we've talked about this for a couple meetings now, but this spring, end of this month, actually, city's bringing out a contractor who's going to do another layer of reseeding, and then the Conservancy and the city are going to work on getting out the water cannon and basically doing yet another round of thickening and strengthening the turf out on the football field for this season. So that is up and running. Other great aspects of that project, which sort of leads into the next conversation, is beginning some level of traffic control, both enhancements for the pedestrian, but also a little bit of control for vehicles. As we continue on that, this is a citywide effort. City has designated funds for several parks that have been identified between conversations with DPW and the police department on sort of problem parks for vehicles getting in where they don't belong. These are some phase one improvements that were made in Martin Luther King Park last year. So there's a combination of natural barriers and more sort of ornamental designed bollards, as they're called, in this case, removable bollards within the pathways. So Riverside Park has been identified as one of the parks with money designated for 2023 to make these improvements. So that gives us a couple meetings to really fine tune our community input. But there are consultants on board, and proposals will be brought to this committee, reviewed and approved for significant efforts to contain traffic. I want to pause for a moment for some conversation about and identify more issue areas. These are the information we started to talk about last meeting, where in orange, you can see the length of the stretch along Hodling Drive, where traffic controls were put in, a row of boulders, and as well a couple removable bollards, either in place or planned. But identified issue areas were probably could have put a circle around the entire ice rink parking lot, but specifically the areas where they're not supposed to be parking, which is kind of back in behind the end of the parking lot around the maintenance garage, and as well that entrance loop and sort of various other areas. But then again, that whole central spine up to Escher identified as sort of some challenging places where vehicles tend to be coming in, where we need to focus efforts. And again, I think I want to open up the conversation for more areas or just general philosophy and thoughts.
And with the efforts that have been put in along Hodling, has that suppressed the people driving in football season back onto that pathway?
From what I know, yes, I can verify from the in the field perspective that they think they've seen an improvement. I didn't ask ops to weigh in.
You just wonder if you need to go a little bit further with that to be on the other side of that road as well, you know,
Further down towards Niagara.
just a little bit to block off that
Yeah,
access path.
yeah, that's good. Any other, I sort of left off the south end. I'm not sure if the fact that there's perpendicular parking along that edge of Crowley is almost a barrier in and of itself with the new curb, or whether we're seeing issues.
The only issue at the park I worry about, of course, since I had a little talk with the gangs, we haven't seen the motorcycles come to the playground yet, but they do come down right by where the basketball court is. They take the road up and they go through where the lighthouse is. That's where they're cutting through,
Mhm.
and they go on Hodling, of course, but the bikes are the ones that cause,
Yeah,
and people still somehow park their cars on the baseball diamonds.
really.
Yeah, because you see, you have, I knew these,
All right. Jackie's coming up to point on the board here for folks at home.
right,
Okay, up by the playground.
is a path that's open, cars can come through there.
And we've seen cars over towards Niagara Street as well.
Yes, yes,
On that main drive. Oh,
and over here, see, they'll come through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, have you considered doing something different with the drop-off crescent from the park building? Just eliminating it? That's a vestige from before.
yeah, that's from the old
From
Devil.
building was put in as a drop-off. None of it's used that. So
Right.
consider just eliminating that.
Yeah, that's a good thought. Yeah.
Eliminate the issue and make them park on the street.
And the issue of letting them know that they can park on the street, I don't think is obvious to anyone.
I agree with you.
I think they don't want to park on the street because they think that they cannot, so.
Right.
Even the crescent thing up at Esser entrance. I don't know what you're considering, but you may want to think about what that really wants to be to give a better vista into the park.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's just got the ragged pine trees in there.
Yep.
It's something that's more of an entry point, still controls the traffic. I mean, I was walking through the park one day and somebody on an illegal motorcycle just scooted right through.
Yeah. So that was
Across the
something
bank.
something from the conversation last meeting, and talked about that with DPW, and unfortunately there really is nothing to physically keep out these illegal dirt bikes. This is going to be, again, this whole effort is really a partnership between law enforcement and DPW, sort of based on the fact that they were struggling to keep up with everything. So if we could do something to curtail physically vehicles, then they can focus more of their efforts. But that's going to be an enforcement issue all along.
I agree with her that you need to let people know they can park on Niagara Street.
Yep.
Because they think they can't.
Yeah,
And
that's,
if
that's
they
a great
could,
point.
that would be great, because then, I don't know how many times they told someone, well, park on Niagara Street, for God's sake, there's your person playing baseball right there. That's something to think about.
Great. Yeah.
Better signage.
So what about accessibility, the mobility accessibility, if they're parking on Niagara Street? No problem. And you got rid of the drop-off loop? There's no problem.
It's not the front door anymore.
There's no
From
front door
an ADA accessibility, I guess so long long as the appropriate number of spaces are in the parking lot
Yeah.
near the
Oh,
entrance,
okay.
that's where they would be
So
focused.
if you need to have the appropriate number of parking spots, and you need to provide an accessible route to the door from the parking spots. And
Yes,
parking spots are not. on that
Anything on
route.
the, nope,
So I think you can just eliminate that route.
And so, and they use that side.
They use the side end.
Yeah.
Yeah, side on the end.
Okay.
Eliminate the loop. Make the problem go away.
all right, any other thoughts on this? This is great
Yes.
feedback.
there's no speed limit sign from Vulcan down. There's no speed limit sign there at all. So when people are coming from Tonawanda, they have a 40-mile-per-hour sign, like not even a block from our light on Vulcan. So people think they can still speed 40 miles when the city of Buffalo's 30.
Mhm.
So you needed speed signage both ways.
Yeah, right, the city. I think there was
Along
one-
Niagara?
Yeah,
Niagara.
yeah, there's no,
I think there was one in the past, it probably blew over and they never put it.
yeah, because my grandson got a ticket.
You probably got it.
311 that one.
All right,
That was so funny.
well, that's great. Great. Other, we haven't talked about the north end, any around River Rock Gardens. People have seen issues and, I haven't heard. Fairly wet area, so you figure someone will get stuck once in a while, we notice it. All right, great. If no other comments,
Yeah, there's nothing that says there's a playground. Slow down, kids playing.
along, yeah, I mean, there are. That's not part of the speed humps along there, no
No.
signage?
No, there should
We
be
don't
some,
want to town line.
yeah,
Nothing in town line. Playground.
yeah, nothing
I
on
think it
T
says it's
Street.
just a park.
Okay, I think we're done. maybe.
All right, great. Well, again, if any other things pop up, and you're in the middle of the night, write them down and send in an email or call. Always welcome. All right. So continuing along in some of our system-wide. So park signage, we're gonna be putting out the RFP to do the refurbishment of all of our existing park signage over this summer. That is fully funded. It'll be moving forward. So that'll be very exciting. So it's basically just gonna be the sort of refreshing the 20-year-old signs that are out there now with some brighter colors.
Doing away with the stone.
Oh, yes, no, I was gonna address that. I'm sorry, Mary Ann, I forgot to make sure one of these signs had Riverside on it. I'm gonna make sure that gets into the notes. We gotta get a Riverside sign on this diagram.
So you're doing away with all the stone?
No, the stone, yeah, there's still the two stone varieties, the ID1 and ID2 and ID3.
The stone that we had there will stay there and just replace it.
Yes, yeah, there's just gonna be repainting of the aluminum.
We're getting a new
So
bill.
you're not paint.
Yes. Everything's becoming
If
Delaware
you're
back.
gonna be painted, Brian, I don't know what you're looking into, but conditions are harsh at our park. So I don't know, along with this painting, if you can look at what type of coating you're using for that. Or after it's painted, if there's some sort of a transparent coating, if you go over it, that maybe give them a little better chance of a longer life.
Yeah, I mean, from a signage standpoint, 20 years is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, we're past time, so I mean, the fact that
Well,
they're even legible at this point is
And I bring this up,
is good.
it's more of a wintertime issue because of all the crap that's on the I-190. They really put a lot of chemicals and stuff on it.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of light stand, well, they had one light stand that flew over back in the fall. over
Right.
By our corner, and if you look at all the light standards down there, they're all rotten on the bottom. And a lot of
Yeah,
it has to do with conditions.
I think the aluminum doesn't rust, but I'll ask
Yeah.
even as a
Well,
maintenance
aluminum still
component.
corrodes, so. It's up well.
Yeah,
Just get rid of it.
Not something across all of your signs. Particularly right along here, maybe there needs to be something.
okay. Yeah, I'll find out what the coatings are and if there's any way to, specifically for
And I don't
Riverside
know, I
Park,
had looked at
enhance
the
it.
Stonework on the sign. I don't know what the stonework looks like.
Good shape.
The stonework is a little attention.
From our, yeah, we've hired a consultant, they've done all the existing conditions inventory and none of them masonry got noted as needing repair, so, other than the ones that have been damaged, but, that's another story. Okay, so that's moving forward, another, sort of system-wide, activity, that again, we're trying to promote across the entire city. Beginning of, last month, we opened up an online, and there are physical locations in both Delaware Park and down in Cas Park. Take physical surveys, but we're encouraging people if they can do the online survey for the future of use on the ring roads. As you know, through the COVID pandemic, for social distancing benefits, both those ring roads were closed. And now we're trying to work with the city on determining the long-term solution. So we've got great response on both surveys, but we are leaving the survey open to the end of the month. So anyone who hasn't taken it, please do so. Yes.
Are you gonna be able to use, or are we allowed as a community to use that parking lot by? No, not the other one. The one that's right next to us.
St. George's Church.
St. George's Church. Is that
Yep.
officially something that can be used? Because that's not, I don't think that's well known either.
Yeah, so half of that parking lot is on park property. And the arrangement is those spaces closest to the path, you can be used. Yep, so.
Is there a sign like up there now that this is like the Delaware Park parking?
I'm not sure, I'll have to ask what the city's arrangement is with the church. Maybe it's, I'll find out exactly what the
So
arrangement
don't
is.
publicize it or the whole parking lot will get filled.
Oh, but
Right.
There's not a lot of parking.
Especially by the time.
Yeah, yeah, but when you're talking about soccer.
That is a, yeah, there's the Ready Bike Station is in there and Pathway Connection. So yeah, that is a, totally welcome to use that.
Yeah, it's good to know.
But again, we've got a lot of good feedback, on all sides, some raising some very interesting issues that haven't been a part of the very vocal conversation. So it's been a great effort. We're very happy working with the city on that.
Do you have a feel for whether majority of the people are leaning towards keeping the road closed to traffic? Or you just don't want to say?
We are managing the survey results, but I don't want to skew any data with any input on what has been brought in. So we're going to leave it open to the end of the month, and then we go back to the city. Again, this is not just an up or down vote. There's a lot of nuance to it. Again, we had great feedback, but want to encourage everyone, if they haven't, to weigh in. So I think at this point, we are through sort of projects in the pipeline. And at this point, we're going to turn to the next agenda item, which is going to be the development team. And Katie is on. Katie's,
Injured.
sorry?
I'll do it.
You're going to, okay, just going to freestyle?
No,
Oh, you
I
have
will,
it. You
I
have
will
it.
be sharing screen.
Okay, you're going to share the
Intern.
screen from there or from here?
Can I share it from there? Or,
Well, it's going to be, you can only share this screen.
oh no, wait, I can share it.
I mean, you can, you're welcome to come up.
Okay.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. And Z is gonna pinch hit for Katie, I guess. And we'll hear about some exciting stuff going on this year. And sort of open up a conversation, any questions you have about the work of our development team, sort of now's the time to sort of get some clarity on that too. So take it away, Z.
Hi, everyone. I'm Z. I work with Brian and Zach at the Conservancy and in the development team. Katie's unable to make it last minute. Apologize for the last minute change. I hope I can satisfy with my presence. Oh,
Still, you are on my screen.
but it's not on that screen. Oh, okay.
Maybe I did, so let me share my
Yeah,
screen.
I was gonna say, share yours.
Okay,
No, that's because I'm not connected to the projector. This.
oh, yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. I always find a way to find some technical difficulty. Looks like screen one will be, because I'm still in slideshow mode.
You keep saying to.
Can everyone see my screen now? Good, on Zoom?
Zoom,
Yep.
Zoom.
So in 2022, this year, we're celebrating Frederick Law Olmsted's 200th birthday, and it's a bicentennial national celebration organized by the National Association for Olmsted Parks they're based in DC, and Olmsted conservancies and organizations throughout the country are having their own local celebration, including Buffalo. And what makes our city's park special is, other than all the gems and jewels, we have the first urban park system that Frederick Law Olmsted designed over 150 years ago. So we're taking lots of pride in that, and through that celebration, we have several activities coming up for the year. Our tagline this year is super catchy. It's Buffalo isn't BFLO without flow. Yeah. So, and that's our tagline. So it goes really well with our brand because BFLO Parks is how we always call ourselves. And we're not just Buffalo Parks, we are the Buffalo Homestead Parks. So throughout this year, we are starting out with Olmsted Week in April 22nd to the 29th, kicking off on 22nd, which is Earth Day, and Zach is leading a huge volunteer event in collaboration with Delaware North. And April 23rd, we're having a documentary screening at the North Park Theater in partnership with WNED and PBS. It's a free screening on these two documentaries right here. So we hope that if you're available that weekend, please come and join us. There's no RSVP required. You can just show up and join us for some fun time on that day. On the 26th, which is Olmsted's actual birthday, we will be having a birthday party at Resurgence Brewing Company on Chicago Street. So we are also having a special beer release in honor of this great visionary park designer. So that's from 5 to 7. Also free admission. Please come and join us. We'll have cookies and some fun stuff going on, and a community cheers with the beer, and yeah, so it should be fun, and I hope as many people from the community can come up and join us. So we are also partnering with the city on lighting up a couple of landmarks throughout the city, including Niagara Falls and the Electric Tower, and so on. On the 29th, we'll be unveiling more information on the progress at the restoration of the South Park Arboretum. So that day is also Arbor Day, so that weekend actually has an amazing several arborists come out every year during Arbor Day weekend to donate their time and expertise to help with tree work in our park system.
This year that's gonna be Casper.
Yes, I think this year is at Casper. And Greg, if you're here, and if I mention it wrong, please correct us. And then on May 19th is our spring to summer luncheon, which is our first major fundraising event. So it's a hat luncheon and it's a ticketed event. If you're interested in joining us, please visit the website, or you can reach out to me or Brian.
See, that's a Thursday, that's right.
The May 19th?
Yeah.
Yep, it's a Thursday. So it's a Thursday lunch from 11 to 1. And on June 21st is one of the key highlights of this year's celebration is the Flamingo Day. So back in 2018, we broke the record for the longest line of garden flamingos. I'm not sure if any of you were there. It was a fun time, and we're gonna and someone broke our record. So Buffalo being Buffalo, we're gonna take it back. And so we're gonna do this again on June 21st with much more flamingos this time. And it will be at a different park as well. So hopefully you can come and join us. We are having a pre-adoption program going on right now where you can pre-adopt a flamingo. You get a really nice certificate in the mail. So we had people do it for like Valentine's Day or Christmas to give it to their families, which was pretty creative because we didn't expect that.
How many flamingos do you need to break the record?
We are aiming for 4,206, which is in honor of his birthday for like April 26th. And on July 15 is the 200th birthday concert with the BPO. So this is also a free event and it's at Cats Park. It will be a full BPO concert. Last year we did a rotating partnership with them where they did it in every park, kind of to test out like the space, like what makes sense for them. And last year was a much smaller portion of the orchestra. So this year we're gonna do it for in a long time since they did it last time, but like a full orchestra concert and so free to the public. So praying for good weather and a good time. And finally, to round up the season, the park season is the Federal Law Olmsted Gala on September 9th, this year in the Delaware district. And it's also the 20th year, just in time for the 200th year of Olmsted. If you have any questions, please reach out and we would love to partner in any with organizations throughout to make sure that everyone's aware of as much as possible. So aside from all these 200-year anniversary events, we'll also have smaller events that we've been doing in the past years, like movie nights, walking tours, and those will still hopefully happen as the program usually does. So those will not be in this specific page, but they will be in our events calendar in a more of a calendar format, so it's easier for people to view, save to their phone and things like that. Any questions from Zoom or in person?
Are you promoting this nationally with all the other parks?
Yeah, so the Olmsted 200 national campaign has a national website where they have basically all conservancies can put their own event on there and they can put a location. So we also will put our events on there. And if there's some amazing Olmsted enthusiast who's traveling all over, they can be like, oh, this is happening in Buffalo, and they can choose to come here if they want to, or.
Are you crossing that with any other organizations besides Homestead?
Are you saying within Buffalo?
There's another FL. There's FLW too.
Yeah,
They're
so.
thinking about doing a, come see FLO with FLW or.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So.
FLWs with FLOs.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like.
There's a whole group of people that travel around and see that stuff. So, I mean, something you might want to, maybe not for this, but something you might want to think about as a kind of a cool promotion.
Yeah,
Come
I mean.
see the FLs.
We have done some cross promotion with them on some smaller scale in previous years that I've been a part of, where I was able to give an Olmsted presentation and they have a great basement facility, and we sort of partnered a little bit, but that was a small scale, and I think worth delving deeper into.
It's just one of those, tourism kind of things.
We've also had Zach can speak to this next as we get into volunteer stuff, but there's a synergy between Frank Lloyd Wright and the Japanese Garden and Japanese principals, and their volunteer group is gonna either has or is going to be volunteering at the Japanese Garden.
When you throw out your stuff nationally, just try and move you kind of mix the FLs together.
Yeah.
Put your taglines on there.
FLs come here.
Who their Twitter things, whatever they do, and maybe this FLO, FLW thing comes up. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting to see.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, that's a great point, and we are hoping that cultural organizations in Buffalo, including the Frank Lloyd Wright, Martin House, Albert Knox, and all the smaller organizations as well, will celebrate with us. Come to these events, share it on social media. So we are reaching out, making those relationships happen, and ultimately make it better for the community to create events together. Because it's better when people do things together, right? It's always more efficient.
I kind of like the come to EFLO to see FLO. Oh, don't forget FLW.
Yeah, don't forget FLW.
Oh, that's a good a Twitter.
Yeah.
They get him on the marketing committee.
Yeah, thank you so much. Any questions?
It's only
Please
because of
let
my
me know.
background.
I am going to stop sharing.
Okay. And again, any questions about, not only the 200th, but, we're really looking through these community alliances, sort of build a little more knowledge about, you're going to see a lot of my face, but there's a lot of departments at the Conservancy doing a lot of great work, and certainly want to make sure everyone is engaged and aware as they can and would like to be. So from here, I'm going to turn it, another thing that we're sort of kicking off in this 200th year and through the Olmsted Community Alliance are these community volunteer days. And I say days because I want to sort of strengthen the idea that there may be multiple as the year goes on, but we are looking to get some input on just get my computer to advance. Starting in Riverside District with a volunteer event. So Zach, you want to weigh in on what we're thinking here?
So for those of you at home, Zach Garland, Community Outreach Manager for the Buffalo Homestead Park Conservancy. What we're really trying to do this year is make a concerted effort to do volunteer efforts with the community. We've been fortunate enough to do a lot of corporate volunteer events with a lot of different organizations, but we've yet, at least the time that I've been here, make an effort to really do a volunteer event with the community, the people who surround the park, people who go to the park the most, see it the most, you people here. So the one date that we have in mind right now will be on 4/19. I believe that is a Tuesday. Thank you, Brian. What I want to kind of open the floor to is look at a kind of certain time or possibly potentially another day that would work best. But basically, it's kind of just essentially be, especially because it's going to be April this month, get out in the parks and clean up, get in the garden that's prepped, ready to go for spring and summertime to get ready for planting. But again, the basis of this is to get the community together and work in the parks together so that we're not just getting together in settings like this, although it is nice at night, but I think it'd just be another nice way to just kind of get together with the community and work together to make the parks better. So I'll be sending out follow-up emails to everybody to kind of look at certain times. Hopefully this date will work. If not, maybe we can look at other potential dates that I can offer up. Mary?
Yeah, spring cleanup along the river in early April. I mean, I know it's April 19th, so you might be okay, but
Yeah.
it's still cold because
Oh,
the
yeah.
ice is just off the river like today.
Oh, yeah.
So you may want to move it more towards May. I'm just saying, if
Sure.
this is the first cleanup, I would.
First one, yeah. First, and like Brian mentioned, it's not gonna be on.
No, but I
It's
mean,
just-
is it the first one in Riverside or the first one in the Olmsted system?
It's the first one in the system.
Yeah, you might want to just push it. a little because
Sure.
it's
Yeah, I mean,
cold.
we
Riverside at the back of the line. in terms
Yeah,
of-
well, it's just
Sure.
cold along the
Right.
river. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
out there, the ice literally just came off. the
Oh,
river
trust me, I know we've already had a good handful of on-site events already. We've just been lucky with the weather. I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that once we get into April, it'll be better. But saying that, I know this time last year on Earth Day, there was snow on the ground. So it's Buffalo, we don't know. But I will certainly keep it open. Like I said, the follow-up emails that I will have for you, I'll put up other potential dates and so we can narrow it
Yeah,
down.
there's an Al Street
Coming
on
months.
the 23rd.
Correct,
Yeah,
it's for the
all
Saturday
Earth
following
Day
Earth Day.
cleanups.
Yes, yeah. And this, again, want to do something outside of that, so just specifically with the community.
So are you cleaning up like the ground, the grass, the leaves and all of that? or
Yes,
just-
garden beds specifically, that's, kind of like getting ready for the prepping to get the ground, which we usually
Can
start
I-
planting towards the
can I
end.
make a
Put this
suggestion?
backdrop on.
Because of the, have a conversation.
Back?
That's
Excuse
maybe you should talk about it. So you've got like 5 full days of 50 degrees or higher temperatures,
Mhm.
because there's critters that live in those leaves and things
Oh, yeah.
all winter long.
Yeah.
So you might wanna
Gives
just
them an
wait a little bit
opportunity to get up
To
before
get
we.
up and get up, yeah.
We have a question.
I have a question. Is this a rain or shine event? In other words, will you have an alternative day in case it rains, or it doesn't matter if it rains?
Dr. Luna, that's a good question. Normally, they are rain or shine events unless it is a torrential downpour and or lightning. We always like to get people out there regardless. But we can certainly set up, like I said, we can have an alternate day set up if that would make everyone feel better. Have to have like a comfort level of, in case there is a rain day, we have an alternate day for better weather. Good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing you might want to do, I mean, if you're gonna do multiples of these, you might want to reach out like to the Boys and Girls Club, which is right a block away, because they're always looking, they bring the kids into Riverside Park on a regular basis. So Shay may be able to like have a kids' day cleanup in, after school one day with you guys and things like that.
That's good. I was just speaking with her earlier today.
Yeah.
So, I'll follow up with her about those. Thank you. But again, really, I want to get out of always doing events with corporate groups, people that don't live in the Riverside area that just come and just help pick up because they're fulfilling their service hours for their job or organization that they're looking for, and make it more of a community event.
Hey, I'm always ending up providing toilet paper over there at the bathrooms. I help.
And it doesn't go unnoticed. So we always appreciate that. Thank you.
So they're bringing that up. Are the bathrooms, when are they gonna open up? I heard that there's gonna be the free lunch program back in the playground.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna pass it back over to Brian. I don't want to take up too much of his schedule of what he has here, but again, you'll be hearing back from me on follow-up dates about it.
What time of the day?
That, again, I'll send out times.
This is
It's
really
either morning or afternoon.
crazy idea, and bear with me, but we know people, we know of people who live kind of and spend a lot of time on that north side of the park now, because it's become a really, really nice place to hang out. Is there any thought of engaging them in some volunteer activities?
In who specifically?
The people who spend a lot of time.
Oh.
They use the
But I mean,
shelter.
yes,
They're not
yes.
necessarily,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily the best in,
Right.
the workforce, but on the other hand, they probably have the most vested interest in that piece of property. And I've talked, look, they were out counting butterflies for me the one week, so,
Yeah, me and Marion, I have no problem in going up and asking them
you
in
might,
a very kind manner.
yeah, I think that there's a lot of work there that we're not,
Sure.
I know it's a burden, I know it's
No,
work, I
it's-
know it's whatever, but they are there a lot.
Yes, they are. No,
Yeah,
so that's a
they
good point. Thank you. But just want to, again, you'll be
What
hearing from me to
time?
follow up. I'm gonna put out possibilities or options, excuse me, early morning, afternoon, and try to narrow something down in the coming weeks.
But what I mean, I guess anyone in the room, any feeling about during the week?
Yeah,
morning,
yeah.
Night?
Any opinion? Would you rather have during the week or weekend?
I think it's,
I mean, with school and everything, I mean, we can be able to get there. Daytime sort of activities might be tough.
I think we have all had a huge difficulty in getting any community volunteers at all for any activities in probably the last 2 years.
Because it
Our
forces
feeling is
folks.
it's changed dramatically. COVID has kind of changed it dramatically.
Sure.
But it's been very, very difficult to engage the community to come
Sure.
out and do things. So I don't know if there's a best time or best day.
Yeah.
And we've all kind of gone to that corporate model as well, where we're calling the corporate people to come in.
Yeah.
Can't get, we're wrestling as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
many,
then maybe
many
with that,
instances.
maybe trying to pick a time on a weekend may work better, just so people are out of work, out of school.
don't forget, as you probably know, Riverside Park by square footage is one of the most used parks in the city of Buffalo.
Absolutely.
And if you come over after school or even like the day, it's packed.
Mhm.
It's packed with
Yeah.
kids, little kids, big kids. It's a packed park. So there isn't any one real good time.
Yeah, better
I'd
than
like
that.
to tell you that if you're gonna do it, your best time would be early morning.
Okay.
Before people are out of bed
Yeah,
or
so
little kids are in the park and stuff like
Sure.
that.
possibly
It's gonna be the gardens.
early morning on a weekend,
Yeah,
early morning on Saturday.
yeah.
How about the sports league? Hit them up,
They'll all be in on it, yeah,
the big users.
yeah.
And also as besides the Town Boys and Girls Club, also has the charter school for applied technology, or Riverside High School, because they have to put in X number of community hours.
Problem
and
Oh,
is
yeah.
that people are
graduate.
not coming out without escorts, and they're not coming out with people watching them. We failed in giving those.
Correct. And I've worked with Riverside High School in the past as well. But yeah, again, like you said, Mary Ann, especially coming out of COVID year, I mean,
It's
what
tough.
everything's gonna kind of go back into the normalcy that we hope it will. Hopefully, this will be a push to get more people out there.
It'll take another year, 2 years before we get people to come out.
Yeah.
Once more feel normal again.
Yes.
It's been a tough 2 years.
Well, thank you for your input. Again, I'm gonna toss it back over to Brian.
Just let me know. I'll give you a little toilet paper.
Yeah, I mean, we'll keep talking about, I mean, probably a little more detail on the types of groups that Zach is getting throughout the year coming out. I mean, the school groups, the corporate groups, I mean, just sort of, we do a year-end report for ourselves in terms of documenting all of our time, and maybe even just sharing, you know, so that you see, you know, how many of these different corporations are coming out. You know, might be interesting. Another little small introduction. Similarly, we talked about development today. We just keep the show moving. Want to sort of dig into, again, these are conversations. We've had a couple meetings now where a few items have sort of sprung up. Conversations evolved a little bit. Other sort of questions have led to things that I've popped onto this list. So ongoing discussions out of community concerns that we'll hammer through one at a time. So again, when we were getting started, it was fall. It was starting to cool down, but we had been seeing last year what I would say is a little bit of a spike, but sort of a continued issue with homeless encampments within the parks. So as the weather improves, we anticipate that problem might occur again. So there is, you know, there are protocols in place between, you know, our staff coordinating with the city of Buffalo and specifically the police department. We certainly encourage everyone to call 311 on that or any type of issue. That is always a huge help. But
311 is only open Monday to Friday, you know, 8 to 4.
311.
Yeah.
So you can, in terms of getting immediate feedback for yourself, but I can assure you that our operations team, we get every 311 call. You know, anything that's recorded, any message that's left turns into a report that gets to our director of operations, Bob, and then he gets it out to the district supervisor. So whether or not you get that, I think comfort level in your feedback, it is a really good system. Everything is documented, and you know, maybe the follow-up could be better. But I think knowing that, you know, from the amount that we see come our way, it's a good system. But certainly anything, again, coming to this committee, any way you would like, but also we've got the boots on the ground noticing these things.
If you ever have an opportunity to go to the Kansas 311 system, because coming back and saying the case is closed and was sent over doesn't really solve the problem, and there's not enough categories. So, I mean, I don't know what they're talking
Bob
about.
Krupinger at the city is always looking for,
Who, what, sorry?
Bob Krupinger at the city is always looking for ideas about how to upgrade 311.
Send me his email.
Ma'am.
All right. So as first one, we got into a conversation a little bit last meeting with regard to the lighting out in the park. So kind of a unique situation with these one-of-a-kind light bulbs, and we talked about even the monument itself and the lighthouse being lit. Talked with the Arts Commission. We've got a great Arts Commission member on our design review committee. We circled in, brought in the Department of Public Works. They sent their lighting people out on site, and while I don't have the technical specifications in terms of what they found and the issues, the report back that I got was that this is a capital project to fix lighting situation. This is not a lighting maintenance issue. So with that known, I think, we're all moving forward, recognizing that isn't an answer necessarily. It's just the beginning of a process.
Is somebody gonna look at this capital project and price it?
Well, so basically, that's what I think we need to sort of, we've got this information. It's me circling back that, we need to sort of start, the capital budget process is a cyclical thing. But in terms of prioritizing this as a safety concern, in addition to an aesthetic.
Homestead already has the specs for the lights that they approved within the park, so that's an easy replacement, and then they get the question of the lights.
Right, so that would be, that again will be coordination with the Arts Commission, with these lights being a part of the monument, that we can make that swap. I mean, it's all steps in the process, but I think ideally we would like to get these as low maintenance as possible, so that as lights go out, it's not a big mess to get them lit again.
Brian, I think the word was that's a capital, as you said, a capital budget item, and it wasn't budgeted for in this go around, so there is no funds this year for it, but something which they plan to look at, at some point.
I think you need to take a critical look at the whole thing, and I think you need to seriously think about just divorcing the aesthetic of those lights from that tower.
Right.
Yes,
Something
I do
that-
too.
Something that,
They're all
obviously you want to have something that you have the lamps on stock, so you can replace things of that nature.
Yep.
But, just because they were put in when the mine was put in doesn't make them right.
Correct, right.
So I think you need to look at this holistically, and what can we do?
They will put in before we get lights in the.
Right.
There are no lights.
Very good point.
Um,
Okay, so yeah, so this is, again, the conversation's continuing to build. Started with a simple request, coming a little bit bigger, but we're moving it forward.
How long before the safety concern of poor lighting in that section gets addressed another year?
So basically, the hope was that this could be as a part of like a work order for a maintenance job. It can't, so it's a capital project, so now it's into the capital budget cycle. So this will be something put on everyone's radar screen for next year's, which starts this summer in preparation for, next year.
Those are rotted wires and has lighting fixtures, I can tell you right now, because of the water that's gotten into them, those are all rotted.
Okay, so that's probably what they found too, that, they don't necessarily give me all the technical stuff, I just have a pretty simple mind here.
So going off on that, I am requesting a camera put by Riverside Playground,
Yeah, we'll circle back on that too.
because that's extremely important. When you see, last year, some lady came up and swatted a kid in the park. It wasn't even her kid. So, I mean, you need them for that playground. Those are babies in that playground.
Yeah, hold that thought. We'll circle back, I think, into what I think is between the lighthouse, the wading pool, and the shelter building, a logical sort of larger scale sort of planning effort. Seems logical for us to sink our teeth into. So that's the story there, but again, we're coordinating with the Arts Commission and DPW on moving that along. But I think maybe just to wrap it up, amongst this group, the safety concerns and security issues on site here, while you see in the picture, all the rules and regulations are posted. The fact that the light is bad is a concern beyond just sort of a priority on a whim.
Brian, before you leave that, can you just go back? Just 1 second. Is there a reason why we put garbage cans back up against the seating? And And do they have to
Garbage
be
cans
the
backed up against what?
seats that are there, do they have
Benches.
to look like that?
There's the green recycle bin is behind the bench.
And then one
And
across
then
from
the
it,
one
there's a
across
blue
it.
one.
So locating garbage next to benches, is that the
Behind
question?
them.
Well, behind them, and then why are they not a different type of garbage? Why are they not something that's more aesthetically pleasing than packing it up against it?
Yeah.
That's not what I would say is a great one.
For sure, for sure. We can, and I think this is a good thing, I think, have a bigger conversation. This has come up before. In terms of what the city will pick up, it's gotta be a tote. So,
It's gotta be a metal thing that a tote fits into there, you can take the tote.
right, so,
Both on Elm.
right, those enclosures as well, are the way to go. But in terms of the thing that holds the trash, it's gotta be that. And so establishing site furnishings, you know, and funding those is a good thing that we've been talking about for a while now as things have come up. But
Put it on your list.
yeah,
That
well,
was terrible.
In the parks,
good point.
isn't the parks come up with a standard for something like that? Or did you know?
There've been interventions that have had some technical challenges in terms of the rusting of the panels, the doors breaking off.
Yeah.
So I think we've been establishing these standards, but finding them to be substandard.
Yeah, I remember back in the old Friends of Olmsted days, when we had Central Park Conservancy come in. That was one of the interesting things they had, is they had an enclosure for the standard garbage. Yeah, I would have thought, I know we figured something
I would have thought some manufacturer would have figured out a really good one, but we've
Really?
been talking with Victor Stanley, not to dive into the weeds on this, but there have been variety conversations and no one's gonna come up with a really great one that really we think is
I would think
worth
Central
it.
Park would be challenging.
Well, I remember they had good sized totes that they put in, there. They standardized it. But I mean, these totes are huge.
Yeah.
So it might be a problem because of the totes.
Right, so yeah, it becomes an issue that we're buying a whole new fleet of
Beef it up a little
the
bit,
60
make it
gallons. So I think that's a good point that I think we need to keep drilling down on and moving away, but yeah, so a conversation for as we continue to talk. There's been discussions that's been happening in a variety, all the parks are talking about planting more trees, you know, doing more landscaping. And specifically in Riverside, it came up the idea of planting smaller trees, saplings, you know, coming from the idea of tree nurseries, etc. So wanted to sort of talk through a little bit initiative of the Conservancy that we've been working on for a number of years and continue to refine. And most recently, this past year, we sort of refined it one more time and are really sort of kicking it off this spring is the Olmsted Natural Areas. It's previously been called Maintained Meadow Areas. We're sort of giving them what is a little more general name to sort of bring out nature, bring out Olmsted, be less technical. But again, this is efforts of the Olmsted Naturally Committee. So it's a staff-driven committee that is looking at composting, it's looking at native plants, and it's looking at things like these natural areas. So again, these are areas with the objectives of enhancing the ecology within the parks, promoting sustainability in all great senses of the word, thinking about the operational impacts associated with intensive mowing and trimming edge to edge within parks, and obviously with the objective of enhancing beauty. Is there a question this early? Okay, go ahead.
The maintenance facilities that you have in Riverside Park, when we do our big strategic plan, we need to talk about enhanced maintenance facilities, because we should have composting in Riverside Park. We should be able to block off a little bit of that. When you start doing shrubbing and stuff like that, it looks terrible along that pathway. So a maintenance facility and a composting and possibly a greenhouse, what a thought. We can take the, you know, the facilities that we have there and maybe reimagine them for something.
in the long haul.
Great point. You know, we're doing some internal conversations about of our operations facilities as part of our strategic plan. And I think we hope to have some further dialogue on that next month. It's going to be our operations, our next quarter. It's going to be our operations quarter, but great point. I appreciate it. You brought it up last meeting too. Again, yeah, park facilities is certainly an issue in Riverside, and it's kind of an issue across the whole system.
Are you going to cut any trees down in Riverside Park this year because of the ash storm?
Thankfully, with the DEC grant we got last year and work we did over the winter, we cut down a significant number of dead ash within the park last year. This spring, there's a little bit of turf repairs. I think Greg shook his head no, because I think we got all the ones that we needed to take down.
So the ones you treated, did that help?
Treatment. Greg, do you want to jump in here? Do you want me to just, we are treating some of the trees. It's a very limited number because of sort of the investment and the longevity and sort of no end in sight.
I was curious whether that did help.
It certainly does. Yeah, it's an effective.
So
Yeah.
how much does
Let Greg chime in here. Go ahead, Greg.
I was just gonna reiterate, right, we're up to speed on the large dead ash tree removals, so there aren't any more slated removals for this year. We are continuing to treat the trees that have been selected. We went through, they're on a 3-year cycle. We did treat everything this past summer, so we won't need to treat again for a couple of more years.
Greg, how much does a tree cost? To plant a nice sized tree, a decent tree.
Oh, well,
To plant a tree,
Yeah, put one in the park.
$500, I think, through our commemorative giving program. I think you've already done it. Haven't you done that a few times?
I did it once, but the tree died. You put another one in the same spot and it died. I don't know what's wrong with you.
I'm gonna hit mute and let Brian Dole answer that in person. I think throw something at him maybe.
yeah,
What size caliber tree is usually put in?
we're putting in, but if we're doing bare root, it's 1.5. If we're doing B&B, it's up to 2 inches, but we don't go any larger than that.
Really? You won't or you don't want?
The larger you go, the more complicated the planting process, more opportunities to mess it up, and also the more damage you've done to the tree at a larger size, you cut more of its root system off. So
Really?
So there's been studies that show that trees that are, you get a 4-inch tree, it's going to basically not grow for like 4 to 5 years before it really kicks off. Whereas smaller trees are more resilient; they catch up.
Well, we had someone who passed away on our street. That was on our street for, oh my God, 60-some years, and we want to put a tree in Riverside Park because she loved her park so much.
All right, well, let's do it. Now is the time. Yep. Yes, Norm.
Good question. What impact is our new arborist having throughout the system? I mean, we have an arborist now, which we never had before, right? So how is she impacting these decisions and stuff?
We have our arboretum curator. She is focused on South Park. So she's
Only at South Park? That's all she does? I didn't realize that. I thought she was for the entire system. No?
Yeah, no, she's curating the restoration of the arboretum. We do have our forestry crew got certified arborists. They work system wide.
Okay.
Her focus is kind of in parallel to reforestation across the system, focused in on. So yeah, we do have a few agenda items, and we're running short on time. So I'm gonna try and push ahead and get through. I've got a couple things I want to make sure we can give good time to talk through. So just to move through the Olmstead Naturally initiative. So obviously the objectives, the benefits. I probably don't have to tell this group do the great work of Black Rock Riverside Alliance and promoting all of this work, but the biodiversity, the beneficial habitat, breaking up the monotony of the landscape. It's really an Olmsted principle, but also reducing emissions through less use of fossil fuels, and a great educational tool, sort of talk about a variety of things related to nature. So great benefits. Within our typologies, we've got two different types. There's the pollinator meadow and there's the woodland regeneration area. So the pollinator meadow, just sort of quickly go through this, nothing woody is planted within those areas. So those entire areas are mowed down edge to edge because they're just supposed to be seasonal meadows. And then there are areas within the park system where we are trying to regenerate woodlands, and we'd be planting those with trees and shrubs, and they would slowly over time become a little more of a woodland than mature trees and lawn. So within that context, again, this is where it gets technical, but again, the standards and practices are managing an annual review, which is basically making sure that these areas are being successful because they can quickly get out of hand through invasive pressures and poor management. So we're making sure we're constantly keeping these areas achieving our desired goals, but also identifying maintenance plans, any adjustments in size, location, etc. And we're doing an annual review and sharing that with the city moving forward. But the maintenance being the key is that these are going to become trash collectors. So need to be daily patrolling for trash and litter pickup. We need to be managing our desirable vegetation to make sure that we're not creating things that are too dense or too high or too secluded. It's the intended landscape type. Introducing plant material against spring and fall. Identification and eradication of invasive species. That is throughout the year, monitoring those sorts of things. And then in the early spring, where it's possible, or in a lot of places where there's poor drainage, late in the fall, doing a annual brush hog of our herbaceous grasses and perennials to make sure, again, we're suppressing all of the invasives, suppressing all of the undesirable stuff year by year. Again, there's sort of these processes again, and then the aspects of fencing, wear and tear, cut through traffic issues in management, and then our informational signage and the wear and tear on those. So it's really, it's great ideas, it's great principles, but it's really the devil's in the details of making sure that you're monitoring and managing to make sure you get the results you want and not a stand of invasive buckthorn within 5 years. So again, within that is kind of where we're thinking about doing a lot of our tree introductions as smaller saplings, which again are vastly less expensive. They're sort of so inexpensive that you don't really have to do as much intensive maintenance. You can allow a certain percentage to not survive and still achieve desired results. And that's really where a lot of our reforestation efforts are going, because investing a lot of time and energy in one specimen tree, again, can be planted once, replanted each time, spending quite a bit of money. So again, this is an effort I want to give. Be doing this in every district, but talking through this and give people an understanding of how we're thinking about replanting trees within the parks, in addition to our commemorative program, where we do a lot of sort of larger trees. An exciting thing to note on this point is we recently had a very small corporate relationship built with National Grid, or is it National Fuel, Greg? A small grant where we're going to be planting 2 trees up in River Rock Gardens through that corporate sponsor. Which
National Grid.
National Grid. So small thing, but how do you rebuild a forest 1 tree at a time? So two goes a long way.
So are you thinking the woodland restoration model for Riverside?
Yeah, so getting into sort of thinking about Riverside in the coming year, and sort of leaning back on these community volunteer days, the north edge specifically of Vulcan near River Rock Gardens, a perpetually wet area, even beyond River Rock Gardens on the outside of the path. Wouldn't really work out for a spring introduction based on, I don't know if I didn't put the photo in, but just being out there, there's still standing water, in that area, but great effort to sort of soak up a lot of moisture is, getting more water loving trees in the area. So this is again just diagrammatic, but some of the things we're thinking about, as we go through the year and sort of plan more community engagement opportunities, sort of building out our Olmsted Natural Area program up in Riverside. This is where we're thinking our target area might be for the coming year.
You just have to be careful about the visibility then, or lack of visibility if you overplant from Belt Hall and.
Exactly, and that's a key part of this is sort of managing that desirable vegetation density is, things might look great to plant a whole bunch of saplings, but you got to think about what those saplings are going to become. And, even sort of thinking about, the ideas of transplanting things, at a certain point, things could even come out of these areas and into other areas as they grow.
Yeah, people think that when you do this, it's maintenance free,
Mhm.
but it really isn't.
Absolutely not. It's different and more skilled in terms of the knowledge you need to have to do it well. So a couple more things. So exciting news, March 10th, the city released its master plan for the parks. Several of you have said if you've gotten to peruse it, but website at the bottom takes you right to the document. You can also, through the city's website, the Division of Parks, big click right on it, right on the webpage. But again, it's sort of again, not to speak for the city in terms of this, better to read the document and sort of learn what their entire strategy was. But it's sort of laying out the framework, getting a lot of the baseline data together to help them make bigger decisions. And I think, a lot of the conversation for this meeting and where I think we want to go are that bigger decisions need to happen in Riverside Park in a variety of places, but one specifically is, as we talk about the lighthouse, as we talk about the wading pool and, learning how underutilized that is, and then the sort of transitioning of,
The waiting pool is not underutilized.
sorry?
Don't make the statement that that is underutilized. That is probably the most intensely utilized part of the park.
So I meant the challenges that the city has in these features versus splash pad features. And again, the sort of transitioning usage of the interiors of the shelter building. This is a likely spot for some now with the framework of the city's parks master plan, an opportunity to sort of do some major planning within Riverside Park. And I think I'm going to find this in each of our park districts. There's a part of the park that, I think with the added data and coordination with the city, some major planning can happen. So I think, we've talked about like this area specifically. And again, we can open up a little bit of dialogue on that. And then also any other sort of major planning efforts this group wants to get coordinated on. Let's start that conversation and figure out next steps.
Well, okay, so the free lunch program, the bathrooms have got to be open because your trees get well watered otherwise. And I think, and if it rains, it would be nice if they could be, serve some of the, where the concession was for baseball, if they could serve some of the food because the shelter thing comes out of the one. I'd actually like to see a shelter over there.
Well, why don't we look at just a hit list here? You've got an activity there where you've got a vending space. If the vendors are not, if the River Rock Baseball is not going to use it, then maybe the lunch program can use it to give their meals out through there.
That would,
You could open up, the bathroom should be opened up for the use of the park, and the pool should either be opened or turned into a splash pad this year, not next year. And then we can talk about a more developed scheme going forward.
Say that last part again. The wading pool should be opened.
The wading pool should either be opened or turned into a splash pad this year. And then we can look at a longer scheme for that over the next couple of years. So it will not be perfect this year, but our baseline should be, you know, the bathroom should be open. The meals should be served there. That playground should be maintained. The pool should be open. That is like the most intensely used piece of parkland that we have. And every day, you know, the lunch program brings into those. I mean, you've got a couple hundred kids every day there.
Mhm.
That's the truth.
It's not an underserved or underutilized space.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke.
No,
in
I
terms
know
of
you
the-
did. I know. I just wanted to make sure that this is being reported that it's.
Yeah.
So that's like project one, phase one, phase two, year one, year two, year three. I think you need to take on the place, the senior center, we used to be the senior center, is it? And the pool, the other bigger pool and the ice. What are we really doing with that? That's a longer plan. And the overlook. I know the overlook is across the street, but the overlook is deteriorating.
Mhm.
Are we gonna wait for it to fall down, or are we gonna do something, either removing it or replacing it? You know, again, they can be phased, but what is the plan?
Also, this year, I need a camera in the playground.
Right.
That's extraordinarily important.
Yeah, we asked for that a year ago.
I think we were,
For a while.
Camera or.
and we've had a
Yeah,
burning of the playground. I know major graffiti hit right before our last meeting. So yeah.
yeah.
All right, this is great framework, I think, to move forward on. So I'd say, go ahead.
No, and I just think that there is a seriously big conversation that has to happen. That's gonna involve a bigger community when you start talking about the ice rink and stuff like that. But, you know, we talk about, when we give lip service to the fact that we have a community that is not healthy. And yet we have the facilities here. The problem is that we use these facilities for a short period of time, and we have no indoor facilities. We have no, you know, so from October through March, we're all sitting and watching television.
Mhm.
See, so if you brought back my hill,
Not your hill. I want an indoor hill.
Indoor hill, okay.
We had one of those.
I was just gonna say, we could ski back.
Okay, I don't wanna, again, I do wanna leave some free open time. So I think that's great context, like this is, you know, I think we can start to game plan now that the city is sort of published. I think we can get a little more coordination, hopefully, as we go forward on some of these details, that they're not working on something that they want to focus on. Now we're done, and now we're moving on to the next steps. One last thing, I'm gonna again, I do this for every district, just starting, we're gonna again talk more about maintenance, but want to do a little clarification. Again, I'm working on my colors and schemes with regard to how I want to do this, but in terms of operational responsibility, so within the park, got identified sort of the park boundary, and then facilities within the park that are run by the city of Buffalo, which is the pools in Riverside Park, the two located in blue. There's also park roads that sort of are within the park, and again, the city of Buffalo takes care of the park roads. There are also other facilities with existing vendor relationships. The sort of cluster that we were talking about is sort of area 2 of major planning with the ice rink and Saba and the associated parking areas. There's a contract for maintenance relationships there. And then again, sort of the sort of question mark is related to the sort of shelter building and sort of the, I probably could have done that on a diagonal with the sort of concession and exactly what the status of that is and access to that building. So kind of laying the groundwork of the Conservancy does a lot. There are things we don't do. There are boundary lines, there's overlap. But just sort of starting with the basics of acreage and responsibility. And then we'll sort of get into more of the details as we sort of unravel this onion, so the community is real clear on who's doing what out there in their parks for them.
Isn't there there's a bit of a concession thing in the northeast corner of the ice cream.
Yeah. for the
I forgot to
football.
mention that, yeah, that is associated with the football league,
That's only open for football.
right? So yeah, I guess
But the
that is, again, that
bathrooms-
probably still fall into the category of orange, but I should probably, box that out too. So I'll
Well,
do that.
interesting enough, there's bathrooms there too.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if we had movie night or the concert, it would have been nice if those bathrooms had been open.
Yeah, this whole city notion about relying on vendors to manage these things just, it constantly fails.
Yes.
I mean, they've done it along the waterfront too. We had one at Foot of Ontario that failed. The ones at Foot of Ferry aren't doing so hot either. So they just need to like fess up and take care of it.
That's a great point.
Oh, and which reminds me, the American flag and the flagpole flew off and I have it at my house. So
Oh,
the
gosh.
guys can pick it up.
Okay,
Or I can take it up and drop it off.
you know what, why don't, let's make a test, I'll
Did it fly?
see how fast we can get over there and get that from you.
It was the strangest thing.
Did you get a fly in your house?
Actually, supposed to be burned if they hit the ground.
They flagged my house.
So before I do want to open things up, but working with our planning team, I wasn't able to get any clarity on where things are with our River Rock Connectors study. I know I think we've missed a couple deadlines. But in addition to that, our planning department is doing some Envision Neighborhoods meetings, and there's a couple coming up in this area, actually in this same building, on the 21st of April. There's going to be a meeting led by Department of Planning for the city. It's called, there actually they called it MLK Park Neighborhood, the Riverside neighborhood. So again, just trying to help
Who's doing
advertise.
it? I'm sorry. We know
Planning.
nothing about it. so-
City Buffalo Planning Department.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
they, where do they post it?
I can't answer that. The purpose of the OCA is just if I have information, I'm giving it out, no matter whose it is, if it benefits the community. So,
What date is it?
It's
So again,
it should be
that-
the same group that we did the walk around. with,
yep,
I think.
Thursday, April 21st, 6 to 7:30,
Thursday, what is it? Planning.
And it's here.
right here, yeah.
No, what is it? I don't
Um,
know.
so, I had it, sorry, I
No,
could
it's
have put up my Zoom in. But yeah, here we go.
Envision neighborhoods survey.
And then, again, if any of the other ones interest you as well. So there's park issues. Let me just quickly run through, again, we're continuing to try and do outreach. So if there's any groups, anybody, any individuals.
There are a lot of churches that should be added.
Yeah, okay,
There's a
well, let's
lot
get
of
the churches on there. Again, who needs to be here? How do you think we can do better outreach? Again, get all of that information to Zach. And with that, I guess, I'll stay as long as anybody wants, but any issues we haven't discussed that we think we need to be drilling down in this group, otherwise we'll wrap up. All right, I think, no one seems to be hot on a topic, so thanks, everybody, on Zoom. And again, please provide any additional feedback you like, the chat or by email. And again, our next meeting, we are the first Wednesday of every quarter. So that is July 6th. Yes, Mary Ann?
One last thing, can we crosswalk the city of Buffalo plan with what is relevant to our parks? Because I really had a hard time.
Okay, yeah,
I'm not being sarcastic at all. I just had a hard time finding the relevance of the planning process and overlaying it with Riverside Park. I would say all of our parks, but I'll be happy if you could do Riverside.
no, yeah, you're the first one to ask, so we'll start with Riverside, but that is, I was a part of the planning process, but I haven't really had a chance to digest the full report, so this is gonna be a good effort. I think it's a great a great lens to look at this. Thank you for that. All right, thanks, everybody, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thanks.
How do people like the venue? 'Cause it's here, I know, so the library's been closed down for a while, but they'll be
No,
reopening.
They're open.
They
Yeah,
They're
right.
open.
Yeah,
I was told that if anybody did want to drink afterwards, of course.
Of course, we know.
oh, yeah.
What we need is a drink, Tony.
Well, hey, there's another.
Well, except they set it up in front of the doors to get in the bar.
Oh,
That's why they were
Yeah.
outside chasing us all this way.
You don't have to put the screen with that.
Okay,
We also would like wanted separation.
Make sure you get a
But the
drink
other thing,
first.
the other thing is men's room is over there.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
if somebody from this group wanted to go to the men's room, they have either that or they go through the big hall,
Sure.
which is
No,
probably
out this
dark.
door and in the other door.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, with the kitchen treatment.
Yeah.
all right.
If you could fit through the
Of
door.
course, the ladies' room's right there and none of us are gonna want to go in there while you're
All
doing
right.
this. So,
Thanks, Norm. See ya.
I mean,
We get to get up now?